Welcome into the Nashville Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick. MLB postseason has been airing on Fox 17 all month long, so I thought it might be a good idea to bring in one of Nashville's own baseball stars, former MLB outfielder, former Vandy star, and World Series champion, Tony Kemp. Tony, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Hey, pleasure.
Yes, I'm really excited to get into your baseball journey. Obviously, you're from here, right here in Nashville.
Yep.
Had a great career at Vanderbilt with the Commodores, and then 9 seasons in the MLB. And then it came full circle for you this year. You moved back here with your family after retirement. What a crazy journey you've had.
Yeah, I think once you retire and you can kind of sit back and reflect on your career, I've always said I've been blessed and just been able to grow up in Franklin and go to Centennial High School. And then, we talked about committing to East Carolina.
Yes, Go Pirates, my alma mater. Yes, it's a small world.
It's a small world. My brother went there, and my brother is the one who kind of shaped my sports career into what it is. So he's always been my best hitting coach. And then, unfortunately for East Carolina, Vandy came in and gave a pretty good offer. So to go play baseball 30 minutes down the road and have your middle school teachers and high school teachers be able to come to the game. And my dad, he worked for CAT for 40 years, right off West End, so he could get off work and pop over and watch a midweek game. So just be everything full circle after the career ended. Obviously I had more in the tank, but when you get to be 33, 34 years old, it's like, all right, it's about time to do something else. So, no regrets though.
Yeah. You also have beautiful family, beautiful kids. How tough was that decision to hang it up after 9 seasons in the MLB? Yeah.
I look back on it now and you understand how fortunate the career was. And, to be 5'6", to be undersized and to just fight that uphill battle your whole career. But I think God placed me there for a reason, to be able to help the kids who are small on teams now. And the way metrics are in the big leagues now, it's the guys who are the true grinders that, they don't hit the ball hard like me, or just playing really good defense. That was kind of my MO, just to be able to stay on those Astros teams with Altuve and Springer and a Reddick and a Brantley. I mean, there's stars everywhere. So to carve out a role as a utility guy was definitely something that was special to me because I knew that I belonged. But looking back on it, 9 years in the big leagues, I mean, wow, what a time. It was definitely hard. Looking back on it, but now to be able to spend time with my family and my 2 girls, just drop them off at school, and so to be able to do those little things right now is important. But I think after last year ended, I think I had an idea that the career was kind of coming to a close, just ending in AAA and only playing a couple of months with the Orioles. I could kind of see the writing on the wall. Being 33 and in AAA, I kind of was like, oh man, these kids are born in the 2000s. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're born in 2001. So, that was pretty crazy to me. But, I look back on it. I didn't receive any offers going into this year. So, I kind of knew once spring training started. So I think that made it easier for the transition, because I was like, okay, the league is kind of spoken, and I've had my time, but and then the A's came and asked me to do some broadcasting stuff. So we'll get into it.
I definitely want to get into that. I do want to circle back. I love how you brought up embracing that utility player role. Yeah. That's exactly what I felt I honed in on in college too. Wherever you need me, coach. But you also had quite a bit of power for someone of your size. 35 home runs. That's not bad, Tony.
There we go. Not bad. Yeah. You did some stat digging. Yeah. So I always felt like I had a good swing. I had a little bit of power in that swing, but just enough. I didn't really hit like bombs, but they all count the same.
They count the same. Yes, they sure do.
They count the same, but you understand being in that utility role, it's kind of like however I can get into the lineup and however you can insert me on a day-to-day basis, I'm in, whether that's pinch running or a defensive substitution or a late inning pinch hit. I was down for all that. So I feel like I was able to have such a long career because I knew what type of player I was, and I wasn't trying to. I see a lot of guys who go into the minor leagues and they're trying to be something they're not, and then they just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah.
But the guys who have confidence and know what type of player they are, then you can understand, okay, I'm a low strikeout guy. I make a lot of contact. That's what keeps me around. And so I just really honed in on those skills.
What was your favorite pitch to hit?
Favorite pitch to hit? Let me get that 4-seam fastball. Let me get that.
Yes,
I like a good I like a good 4-seam fastball, but I think that once you get to the big leagues, you can see how the league is adjusting to your holes in your swing. So you kind of have to be able to hit everything. You know, that's what those guys do so well is, yeah, obviously once you're getting those good pitches to hit, you're not missing them, right? Or if you're fouling them off, you're making that adjustment to the next pitch. But for me, I was a very good 4-seam fastball hitter. I always felt like I was always on time for the fastball and always adjusted to the off speed. That was always my approach. And I felt like that helped me. I just really wanted to keep things simple. And, you know, now in the big leagues, you see how good the pitchers are now and how good the competition is now. So it was a heck of a journey.
The technology when it comes to sports, but also specifically baseball, has been instrumental, and especially the last decade when it comes to, you know, tape on pitchers, tape on hitters. You mentioned the holes in your swing. You can pick up on them a little bit more when you play 160 plus games, right? But there's tape of every single one of your at-bats out there and everybody has access to it. How much have you seen the MLB evolve when it comes to the approach at the plate and the approach on the mound?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, at first when I was with the A's, it was hard because the young kids were not really watching the game, but they were watching their swings on the iPad. And, you know, we had to say, okay, look, there's a time and a place for it, right? You know, just because you strike out, you go right to the video. Okay, what did I do wrong? But you're not cheering on the next guy who is trying to pick up your mess that, you know, you might have struck out with the bases loaded, one out, and you know, you're not really rooting on the next guy. But as far as the technology, it's come such a long way. Being able to see the shapes of pitches was the biggest thing. I was a visual guy. I just wanted to see the shape of like his put away pitch, his slider, or his off speed pitch, or his changeup. And for me now to be able to see the guys go in and make those adjustments so fast and on the fly is like, that's what separates the good players and the great players. It's like those in-game adjustments that you're able to see one thing from a side angle on the iPad and say, oh, okay, that's one fix for me that I need to go in and I need to change. But for me, I tried to stay off the iPad. I was like, okay, I got into the cage and I did what I needed to do. And I might check the iPad to see like where a pitch was or like I said, like the shape of his slider or an off-speed pitch. But other than that, I didn't want to like cloud my head too much because if I went into the deep dive, then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, the inning's over and I'm on the iPad still and I'm running out. So I tried not to look too much at it.
Yeah, especially baseball with it being such a mental game. As soon as you try to do too much, sometimes that can hurt a player. You were drafted by the Astros, fifth round, 2013 draft, and you had a great stint with the Astros, including that 2017 World Series run. And correct me if I'm wrong, you had just gotten called up that season. You were on that roster for the World Series team. How special was that 2017 Houston Astros team?
You know, it was wild looking back on it because of the talent. You know, I brought up the talent and, you know, obviously the old trash can thing and that scandal had come up and me saying, no, I didn't want to use that. And it was, you know, talking to those older guys. And I think at the time I still had less than 4 or 5 months in the big league. So for me to do that and understand that other teams were having other ways that they were relaying pitches, like we didn't know to the extent of how bad they were using it. So to come into that whole journey and, you know, to see it for a whole, to be in that clubhouse with such good guys and to win a World Series ring. Definitely something that I'm proud of. And I know it's hard because you look back on it and, you know, I wish I could have contributed more. But, you know, the year that I had in AAA, I had to grind a lot, you know, mentally because I knew that I could belong in the big leagues, but I was in AAA for most of the year because, you know, the guys were doing good in the big leagues. So, you know, it's one of those wait and see and wait for your turn.
Yeah, kind of a catch-22,
Yeah.
right? You're on a good team,
Yeah.
but because you have so many good guys ahead of you, you do have to be patient. That was the start, really the start of your big league journey. How much was that patience and that understanding? How much of that was a factor in terms of acknowledging, hey, I got to wait for my time, but at the same time, I want to stay hungry.
Yeah, I think I look back on it and I was like, man, I wish I was on a bad team. I wish I was on a bad team and I could just play every day, right?
Mhm.
But I think now, you look back on it and I think I would have said, no, I'd rather be on a good team and go into the playoffs and maybe have a lesser role.
Mhm.
Because, those teams in Oakland, they were grindy. There were some tough seasons there. And I think now being able to look back on it, everything happens for a reason. And I was able to understand what type of player I was. And, that's when your true character really comes out is, when things aren't going your way. And I'm proud of myself in the way that I was
Mhm.
able to go to AAA
Mhm.
and knew that I belonged in the big leagues and really just like, I make these playlists and one of the playlists it's called Blinders. And it was like, when a horse goes on its race, they wear blinders so you run your own race. And so that was like the mainstay for me was to understand, hey, don't look to the left, don't look to the right, but just like stay the course on your own path and things will work out.
Probably really good advice for some young athletes
I
coming
mean,
up through the
yeah.
big leagues, right?
Oh, especially in
Yeah.
the social media era now, it's
Mhm.
I wish we could go back to flip phones, but
Me too, for the record, me too.
yeah, I think now it's tough because all these young kids can go on social media
Mhm.
and they just see highlights. They don't see like
Mhm.
the actual process of like going to the cage or those little things that, big leaguers do so well. That's not really highlighted on social media. So, yeah, if I was going to give advice to anybody younger, it would say just run your own race.
You mentioned the cheating scandal
Yeah.
with the Houston Astros, specifically the trash can and the tipping of the pitches. Looking back at that period for when you were with the Astros at that time, how, if at all, did that alter your perception of the organization and the management of the Astros?
AJ Hinch was my first manager, and you see what he's done with the Tigers now. And
Mhm.
great manager, really good mind, played in the big leagues as a catcher. I always had respect for the guys who were teaching me the game, like the game within the game. And I think some of the players with their baseball IQ is what they're trying to learn now. And I think when I was with the Astros, I looked up to a lot of coaches because they had played in the big league. So, you look at them and you're like, okay, this is how things go. But for that organization, it would always be hard not to be tainted for me because, being SEC Player of the Year and getting drafted in the 5th round, I'm like, man, I can't remember the last time a Player of the Year has been drafted, in the 5th round. But like I said, I needed to have. Who knows if I would have went earlier?
Mhm.
I needed to go where I went, and for the players, I think you look at it and you see both sides of it, right? Like I did a lot of sitting back and reflecting and thinking about it. It's like, those guys too are working for their next contracts, right? And if they have something in place that can help them, then why not use it? You got guys going into free agency, you got managers trying to keep their jobs, you got, and everybody knew what was kind of going on. But I think on the flip side, you see the guys who, were in AAA
Mhm.
and the guys that were like, dang, like I wish I could I think I can contribute, but nobody was really doing that bad up there
Mhm.
because they had a certain system in place. And it is what it is. I have no, I got a World Series ring out of it, so I am not in any way, shape or form like mad at like what was going on. But I think we talk about full circle moments and getting traded over to the A's being a division rival. And I remember our PR team had texted me and they said, "Hey, there's a lot of media here that wants to talk to you about coming from Houston and the cheating scandal, and you're gonna have to face the noise, right?" And I think I was really proud of my younger self for not using or having zero bangs for the trash can because to go over to a division rival who was working their butts off and they could never beat the Astros, and then they understood like there was something in place where, you know, they had an edge up on them. It was tough. And so I'm happy for my younger self for being able to stay true and not use it. And I was happy because I had such a good year at AAA. I was like, I don't need it. Yeah.
And that's something you always have in the back of your head,
I know.
in your heart and soul. I have that.
The integrity was good.
Yeah.
I was clean. My conscience is clean.
Yeah. Baseball gods know that too.
I know.
They know that too.
I know. The baseball, you know it. You know it. Those baseball gods and softball gods.
Those two.
They're real. They're real.
You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with former MLB outfielder and World Series champion Tony Kemp. We'll be right back after this. Tony, you started your baseball career here in Nashville, Centennial High School, and then 2011 to 2013, the Vandy Boys.
Yep.
And that was really the start of that Vandy Boys era and how you guys got that name. I can't wait to ask you, what was it like being recruited by Tim Corbin? Because you said you did commit to ECU, my alma mater. Again, small world. But what changed, and how did Coach Corbin get you to come to Vanderbilt? Yeah,
so when I committed, I think to East Carolina, it was kind of early on in the process. I was a junior. I think it was around like January or so. And then I kept taking some visits to Vanderbilt, and I kept talking to Coach Corbin, and he was coming to the game still, and I think that they were going to offer soon. But he thought that I didn't want to come to school there, but I really honestly didn't know at the time. And plus, you know, being where I came from at Centennial, I didn't know if it was going to be something where I was going to be able to play right away my freshman year. So there was a lot of determining factors like going into it, and then you know, once the offer came in that they were going to give me a full ride, and I was able to stay close to home and play in the SEC, and there's so many perks, and especially academically, what that school has to offer. It was such a blessing. So I was able to stay close to home, and then when you go on that team, you know, you have Sonny Gray, you have Mike Yastrzemski, you have Kirk Casale, you have all these big leaguers who are on this team, you know, looking back on at the time, and they had made it to the Super Regional the year before. And I remember that they had never been to the College World Series yet. You know, I remember sitting on my couch and I'm like, it was bad because I was hoping they weren't going to go.
Because you wanted to be a part of the first team.
Because I wanted to be the first. I was like, no, I want to be the first. I want to be the first team to go. And so, you know, that next year, I had a really good fall. I didn't think I was going to start at all. I was like, okay, maybe I'll work my way in. But we go out to San Diego. I'm a freshman. So, yeah, I'm 19 years old. 2011, and we're playing in a San Diego tournament. And Coach Corbin comes up, and he, you know, in the morning meeting, he's like, all right, we're going to lead Tony off left field. And, you know, I really don't remember the rest of the meeting. I just remember like, whoa, okay, I'm, you know, freshman year, I'm going to be a true freshman starting in left field for a team that possibly can go to the College World Series. So we had an amazing year. I mean, it was us, Florida, South Carolina with Jackie Bradley, and Florida had a bunch of good pitchers that went on to play in the big leagues, and then Nolan Fontana was their second-round pick from Houston, shortstop. So it was a shared SEC title, but what a time that was to be able to be on that first team that made it to the College World Series. It was you couldn't mess with Coach Corbin so much at that time because he was just so happy. That was the first time as a head coach that he had gone and he was going to be a head coach in the College World Series because he'd been with Clemson, but never as a head coach. So it was an awesome time.
Yeah, and then just a couple of years later, they would win it all, the first World Series title, 2014.
Yep.
You left them in really good standing.
Yeah, we always say like we have like this.
No, but you did. You helped build those bricks, those blocks that led to that.
It's the foundation. Yeah, we talk about it all the time. We have a group chat that, you know, a lot of the guys are still in. I think there's about 20 guys, former players that went to Vandy, and you know, we talk about that. When they won, we felt like we had won too, just because 2011 we knocked the door down. It was like, okay, we can go and compete. And then 2013 we had the SEC record, 26-3 in the SEC, and you know, Louisville ended up bouncing us. But that next year we had so many players coming in. I felt like, you know, with Dansby and Rhett Wiseman and Xander Wheel and all these guys that were behind us. To watch them be able to win, I think I was in Double A at the time, and just watching them on the little concourse TV trying to play a game, but being so happy for them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so now they have 2 national titles now, and they're trying to get back. So hopefully they continue it.
What is one of your favorite Tim Corbin memories?
Favorite Tim Corbin memory?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, there's a couple. I'd probably say my favorite Tim Corbin memory is probably after my freshman year, after we had won that Oregon State game in the Super Regional, and we all go to the locker room, and it's, we'd all kind of been celebrating, and he came in there and sat down in the middle of the room, and it was quiet, and he just says, guys, like, we effing did it. And he's like, we did it. And to be able to see just the joy on his face, and, everybody jump on him. Oh, it gives me chills now. Everybody jump on him, and what he's built that program from, coming from those small schools and then going to Clemson and then getting the opportunity to go to Vanderbilt. I mean, you see what he's done with that program. So Tim Corbin for life. For
Tim
sure.
Corbin for life.
There's a lot of stories, but that sticks out
Mm-hmm.
just because I was so young, just 19 years old, and didn't know much of anything except this was the best team I'd been on at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to lead off for that team.
You talked about the lessons you learned at the big league level. What about your stint at Vanderbilt? The biggest takeaway from your time there with the Vandy Boys?
I think my biggest takeaway probably would be it really helped me when I went into my junior year. I had a great freshman year, player of the year, freshman of the year, and went off, played summer ball, and then my sophomore year was so bad. It was like a complete 180 of what just happened from that first year to second year. And then I went to the Cape, changed my stance, and it was like, okay, you just had the worst season of your college career up at that point. And it was only 2 years, and you're going and playing in the best collegiate summer league there is in the country. Like, there's not much time to kind of feel bad for yourself. And, I remember just talking to my brother, he's like, just go have fun. Just go have fun. Like, you're going to be staying with the host family who I still talk to with now. And I went up there and had an incredible summer, really just trusting myself. And going into my junior year, I think I had just turned 21, and I had a meeting with Corbs, and the meeting was, what do you want to be remembered for here? And honestly, it really wasn't, because he's like, this could be your last year. You get drafted. This could be your last year. Like, how do you want to go out? And it wasn't even anything on the field for me. It was more like, oh crap, like this could be my last time having fun with the guys. Like, there's nothing like college, right? There's nothing like college, being able to be surrounded by a bunch of young dudes who are just going to college and having fun and are really good at baseball. And I remember I was like, I really just wanted to be, I don't want to say partying, but really it was partying with the guys and having a good time. That's really what I wanted. And I feel like that took so much pressure off me on the field, because we were obviously really good, but I think what I wanted to build as a leader my junior year is it's more about the camaraderie off the field. It's more about in the dorm rooms, us all hanging out, us having a good time. And yeah, we could have some drinks and we can talk the game, and that's how you build that bond. And I feel like that transitioned to the field. And so to be able to have that conversation with Corbs, and then for us to have such a, amazing year, 26-3 in the SEC, like I said, is, that record still stands. So I'm very fortunate for it, but I had a great junior year. That last year for me before I got drafted was, we still talk about it.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with Tony Kemp. We'll be right back after this. You mentioned the Vandy team with the 26-3 SEC record still stands today. And with the way that the SEC conference, when it comes to baseball, has just grown, got more and more competitive, I have a hard time believing that record's going to be beat. Is it amazing for you to look back and see just how much competitiveness or how much the competition level really has taken off since you played in the SEC?
Yeah, I think a large part has to do with the NIL. NIL, and college players, I'm happy that they're getting paid. I think there needs to be like a certain cap on it because some of these deals are kind of, I'm happy for the guys, but I'm like, oh my God.
Whoa.
I'm like, holy.
Yeah.
But no, I'm happy that the players are getting paid. But, I feel like with NIL, you're able to, in the transfer portal too. I mean, now it's even harder. Like if you're playing as a freshman now, you're a stud because you're having to compete with obviously the class that you're coming in with. But this transfer portal that these guys are coming in from, it's, so a guy might be coming in from a D2 school or a D1 school that, he had 400 and now it's like, okay, now there's money invested in this guy and, we're going to want him to play. And I think now with the NIL stuff, I kind of missed the college of like guys not getting paid because that is like, I think there should be a certain stipend, right? Like, I don't want any of the college players going hungry, but now with the meals now that they're completely fine. But I think that there needs to be a way for it still to feel like college, like not to feel like it's a professional sport, right? But that's a topic for a different time. Anyway, but now, yeah, like you said, the competitiveness in the SEC now, you can see how much it's transformed and how big it's gotten.
Gosh, it's just hard to believe that on a regular basis you're playing top 10, top 20 teams every single weekend. And that's what it's like with football too. We're in the middle of football season and Vandy, look at Vandy.
Anchor
top
down.
10, first time in 5-6 decades.
Let's do
it.
Let's do it.
So there's no question, NIL, transfer portal, the evolution of college sports has shaped each conference in a different way. But I think we're seeing the benefits of the SEC front and center.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Yeah.
You transitioned recently to the broadcast booth
Yes.
for the Athletics.
Yes.
Was that something that you always had at the back of your mind, or does that kind of just happened organically?
Yeah, I think it was always, so I majored in communications at Vandy. And so I always had to do public speaking, or I would have to do classes like interpersonal communications, which I loved because I also liked reading people's body language and understanding that, and I always enjoyed it. And then I started talking about baseball and doing some stuff analyst-wise. And then after I retired, the A's reached out to my agency and just asked if I was, wanting to do any work in the booth. And I was like, yeah, I think that sounds good. And especially transitioning out of baseball, it's a good way to stay in the sport. But I knew that, with 2 young kids, 3 and 2, I'm like, I don't think coaching for me is in the cards because that's longer hours at the field. You're away from your family. And, I just did that for 12 seasons. I don't, I had a good time, but I want something that's a little different. And so to go into the booth and really do like some pre and post game, to do some radio in St. Louis and then do the in-game broadcast booth, A's Diamondbacks for a couple series. It was fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It was good because I'm just giving my opinion on the game and what I see. And, I'm not going to be in the Hall of Fame by any means, but, I think it's a good perspective because, you have that utility hat on. So I'm able to see the game from a different perspective. And yeah, just give my keynotes of the game. I enjoyed it. So
from a lot of different positions, whether it's the hitter, the defender, the outfielder, the second baseman, or the guy in the dugout, you do a wonderful job. I listened to several of your broadcasts,
thanks.
and you're very natural. You're a former player that loves the sport, and that comes through, and that's what we want to hear.
Yeah,
that's all we really care about. Explain this to us, okay, but then also shed a little light in some areas.
You want to put it in a way to where it's someone who's listening might be watching baseball for the first time, and so just getting my feet wet in that way, and to be able to understand. Having someone in your ear and talking to you, hey, break this play down like this, like the producers and stuff, and I'm sure. You're definitely used to that. So being able to understand that transition and listen in on it and give my insight to the game was fun. So hopefully, I think what I want to do is I want to do some SEC network stuff, like some Vandy baseball stuff would be cool. And then I think do some MLB and do some college. Yeah. That would be cool.
Oh, you would be great.
Thank you.
Nashville's also on the short list for a MLB team someday.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Thank you. I'm glad. It's nice to finally talk to somebody that's like, yes, let's get this thing going.
It's got a great chance. And, I think that this was in 2023, but I think we were playing the Yankees, and Rob Manfred came in, so we got to talk to like the commissioner of baseball, and coming from his mouth, he's like, at that time, he was like 80% sure that was a good spot for a transition in an expansion team for Nashville, just because it's centrally located, and you see the attendance of what the Sounds do, and and I grew up a Cardinals fan because my dad grew up a Cardinals fan, and it's either Braves, Reds, or Cardinals, Cubs here, and so I think Nashville, if they get a baseball team, they'll do great, and I'm trying to talk to those guys. I'm like, yeah, you guys get a team. Let me just slide in. Anytime you guys need me, I am here for you. So, I know that the Titans are building a new stadium now. So I think that I'm saying hopefully like 5-6 years from now.
I think sounds about right. It's from everybody I've talked to in the Nashville sports media community. It's not about if, it's just about when.
It's about when
the league's ready for that expansion. When they also got to bring in a second team, right? You can't just bring in one. You got to have a pair. So there's so much that goes on. I'm a big believer that this is a city that does not slow down when it comes to sports,
right.
and it could be not just beneficial, but I think this is a city that really deserves one. I really do.
And I think especially how fast it's growing, you can see that, this city is hungry for a baseball team, right? And I think also what's interesting is how the divisions could change. Just in terms of traveling, right? You might not have any more cross-country flights, right? You could split the divisions up, and it might look a little different, but that's definitely a possibility. But I think a baseball team would do great.
Yeah.
I think a baseball team would do great here. So we'll see.
We're both behind that.
Same page.
Okay, this is a perfect transition to our In My Opinion segment.
Yeah.
That was a great opinion.
Let's do it.
So let's see if Tony, what has been something that's just on your mind lately? It could be good, could be a rant, could be whatever.
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
My opinion right now is that I want the Titans to be good again.
Yes.
I am.
Go ahead and open up a little bit.
Man.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
Is this my therapy session?
Yeah.
I think. So I grew up a Titans fan. Grew up in Franklin, and my first memories is rushing home from church to watch the Titans games. And so I think I was in 4th grade when they went to the Super Bowl. Yeah. So the Eddie George, Frank Wycheck, Steve McNair's, those teams. Actually, in my neighborhood, Derek Mason was in
D-Mace.
Pause. No. Kevin Dyson.
Dyson.
Yes.
Music City Miracle, Kevin Dyson.
Yes.
Well, they were both in on that play, but yes.
Yes. And so now he's the principal at Centennial. And so, man, I was like, Dyson lives down the street from us. This is so cool. But, I told my wife now, I'm like, if the Titans ever go back to Super Bowl, we're going. Like, I'm just letting you know that now. Like, but to see, exhale. I know, it's tough. Listen, as a professional athlete and as an athlete yourself, you know how hard the game is. But I honestly think, just from a management standpoint, letting Vrabel go and all those things, I just wish the Titans were good again. That's what's on my mind, in my opinion.
What was your reaction when they did part ways with Vrabel last year?
Yeah, I think that was hard. It was hard because you have a guy who has been there, who's won all these Super Bowls, who has been on all these teams, and you could really tell. And like I said, just love to read body language. Whenever I would go to the games, I would like to see how the players were interacting with Vrabel, and especially after tough losses, he was by those guys' side in the locker room or greeting guys. And it was a tough time with Will Levis too, so he was out there giving him support. And so I knew that it came from a good place. And I think what happened with him is he knew that the GM at the time was not really. I think it was Robinson. He's like, okay, I don't know if this guy really knows what's going on. I think that Vrabel wanted to make some moves himself, and they butted heads, and I think that's why Vrabel got out. But I wanted Vrabel to stay because I knew that he was building something special. And we went to the playoffs a couple times, and I know that we had some early exits, but at least we're knocking on the door.
Mm.
And so being a part of a rebuilding organization, I've been a part of that, and it's very hard. But yeah, that's on my mind. That's my opinion. My opinion is I just want the Titans to be good again.
Well, hopefully it's kind of like the Nashville Baseball team. It's not about if, it's just about when, right? And
give it time.
And you have to give it time. And I always value the perspective of former athletes, former pro, whatever sport you played professionally, because they realize, men, women, how hard it is to get to that final game of the season. There's only 2 teams that make it at the end, and only one of them can say at the very end that they're World Series champions, that they're Super Bowl champions. And so to live that every single day of the season and have that reality of this, what we're doing is very, very difficult. It's something that I think fans need to be reminded of every so often.
Yeah.
Hey,
they're human.
They're human, and I get it. They're passionate. They want to see their team win. And I totally get it, but it does take time. So I appreciate your opinion on that. That's a good one. We might need you play that at a little extra this week before the Titans' next game. Hey guys, it's gonna be okay. Sometimes it does get worse before it gets better.
I know. Keep grinding. Keep grinding.
Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It's so obvious how much your journey is entwined with Nashville, and how much of an effect you've also had on this city. I do want to mention I loved covering your Vandy charity softball game this summer with your buddy Jordan Matthews.
Yes.
Hopefully that comes back again, and if that's the case, Fox 17 will absolutely be there again.
Yeah, you got my number.
I got you.
We'll be talking, whatever you need.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do in the community. Really excited that your family's back here in Nashville, and to also see you in the broadcast booth. That will be fun too.
I'll be asking you for some pointers.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. No, seriously, thank you, and appreciate everything you do. You, my friend, are a Nashville Game Changer.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for our new guest. And as always, check us out on YouTube and social media. And when you're there, please like and subscribe.